Among the whistling trees of Walling, Tennessee, you'll find the Foglight. Sometimes you just gotta get lost to find us. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Community Insider. We're here at the Foglight Foodhouse, stationed in the hills of Tennessee. We are in Rock Island, and with us is the owner, Mr. Edward Philpo. Can you tell us more about your establishment?
Gosh, there's a lot to know. We started kind of tinkering in food back in '97. It was all on a whim, and we never had, and I say we, I'm referring to my twin brother Paul and my older brother Ian. We had gone our separate ways and done our own thing and had a lot of fun and, had real jobs as they were. And our mother got sick. She was diagnosed, she was terminally ill. And just out of nowhere, one night my twin brother Paul said, "Man, Walling needs a restaurant." And I said, "Walling needs 1,000 things before it needs a restaurant." And the next morning, just as luck has it, we found our first little spot, and it was about a half a mile up the road, right on the old highway. And 2.5 months later, we managed to open a restaurant called Foglight Foodhouse.
Security Federal Savings Bank is always pleased to provide virtually every banking service you could ever need. But more than that, we are proud to offer a relationship with you, your family, or your company. We've been here supplying just what you need and building a trust, a relationship. And that's something hard to find these days. Our bankers are here for you, here to help. If you are interested in a relationship, come to the friendliest bank in town, Security Federal Savings Bank, member FDIC.
The MyUsage app is a way to conveniently pay online, anytime, day or night. You can also come by any Caney Fork Electric office and sign up for the prepay option available using the MyUsage app. Know exactly how much electricity is used each day and the cost. Best of all, no monthly bill. You can set up email or text alerts, keep track of your usage, and pay your bill, all with the MyUsage app from Caney Fork. Caney Fork Electric, keeping you informed.
Welcome to another edition of Community Insider. Join us as we travel Middle Tennessee, uncovering history and experiencing the adventure of unique stories and events coming to you inside your community.
Would you consider this Walling or Rock Island? Where
we are actually in Walling. We're on the very edge of the most southern part of White County. The Foglight property ends in the center of the Caney Fork River. So we're actually looking down on Rock Island right now between the old rail bridge and the newer road bridge. And just upstream from us is the island from which Rock Island is named. You can see it from the deck.
That's amazing. And it's a beautiful view out there. People can come here at what time of the day, usually?
We're closed on Sunday and Monday, but we have a lot of people who, and I don't encourage it, but I don't discourage it either. They'll come down on days that we know we're closed, or they know we're closed. They'll sit on the patio and they'll check out the river and walk out on the railroad tracks, which is against the law, by the way. I have to throw that in. It's a felony. But we're open Tuesday through Saturday. We open at 5 o'clock on Tuesday through Friday until 8, or as long as people are still coming in. Saturday, we open a little bit early. We're open at 4 until 8, or as long as people are still coming in, because we're not going to lock the door on you. And if you want to sit on the deck, you need to come early. Those are the most popular seats. Second most popular, of course, are the ones immediately ahead of us in those big, beautiful picture windows.
So tell me about the history, where y'all began, where the original location was, and it used to be Brownie's Drive-In, is that correct?
It was Brownie's. It was a drive-in, but I believe it was called Brownie's Cafe.
Brownie's Cafe.
It was a little bitty, probably, I'm going to guess, 600 square foot building. And it was owned by the nicest family. I believe you know them.
Yes, David and Doug Dunlap. If you're out there, this is the man that's talking about your business, your family history. So tell us about that, what that was like whenever y'all first opened up. And it was a little shack as you described it.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a challenge because there was, though Walling is tiny, it's an unincorporated town. There's less than 1,000 people here, I believe. But the people here are proud and they like their history. They like their landmarks. And Brownie's Cafe didn't sit where it currently sits. It had been moved years before we ever moved into it. It was a little bit closer to where we are now. And the people were attached to the building and its original location, even though the business had closed many years before. Somebody purchased the building, moved it to where it is now, and we didn't even know that there was a building there. My older brother, living not far from here, he when the idea from my twin brother Paul came up about opening a restaurant, he said, "Let's look at the Brownie's Cafe location." Well, I didn't know it was there because it was completely grown up. It was surrounded by boats and trucks and trees and bushes, and we managed to find our way in, and the building was deep to your waist in stuff, bags of stuff, boxes of stuff, piles of boxes and bags of stuff. It was just indescribable. But we got all of those things out and quickly discovered that all the floors in the entire building were rotten through.
Oh, goodness.
And we were falling through the floor. So that was our first task, was to replace all of the floors. And it kind of went from there. It started in November of '96, again, on a whim, so we had no plan, which was good because we had necessity feeds creativity. And so we had both of those things to our advantage. And January of '97, we turned the lock on that door and opened up to regular business. January 23rd of 1997, and we didn't have a clue what we were doing, but it didn't matter. We weren't in pursuit of opening a restaurant for the sake of owning and operating a restaurant in perpetuity. It was a plan to distract us from the fact that our mother had just passed away in November, and we all needed a life change to reset our feeble minds. And turns out that we gained a little bit of traction pretty early on, and 6.5 years of running an 800 square foot restaurant with 52 chairs, we managed to do this a little bit bigger, a little bit nicer, a little more modern.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Thanks.
The low lighting, it sets the mood for something intimate. Can you tell us a little bit more about the menu items that y'all have?
It's funny, our current menu is very reminiscent of our original menu. Some of the items that were on the original menu are things that my twin brother Paul brought from Texas with him. And some of them were, I got to be honest, were things that I had cooked in restaurants previously. I brought those with me with permission of the owner of these restaurants. So it wasn't like I was stealing ideas. We had run out of energy for the menu portion, for the finer details, because we were fighting weather, we were fighting grief from losing our mother, fear of opening this little restaurant and failing. That's my greatest fear in life is failure. Throughout 28 years roughly, we've had a lot of items that have come and gone. Some have been really, really popular, and some of them were just not popular at all. Our current menu is a collection of the last 28 years of our best-selling items, and a few brand new items kind of sprinkled in there. Well, not brand new, they're new to this year. pecan crusted catfish, which is my favorite.
Yes.
I brought that from the Scarecrow Country Inn in Cookeville. It's not my recipe. It wasn't my idea. I called Wanda, the owner of Scarecrow, and asked her if I could do it. And she said she was proud for me to do that. And then the Cajun food was inspired by primarily by its popularity of the time. 1997, there were a lot of big chain type Cajun or a lot of chain Cajun type restaurants, I should say, that were opening up, Copeland's being one of the biggest. And they did a good job for a long time, and then the popularity of it just dried up. It didn't dry up for us, luckily. I think the atmosphere of the restaurant, the passion behind us, what we put into the Cajun food at the time, I think that infused into the overall experience. And I think we superseded the popularity aspect, the fashionable part of the Cajun thing, because I kept it true to its roots. I studied Cajun cuisine, and I told everybody that I'm not going to make any Cajun or Creole food until I can do it as authentically as possible. So the Cajun food persists. A lot of seafood, a lot of steaks, a lot of pastas, beautiful homemade desserts, appetizers, unlike any that you're going to get in most places. We're not completely unique, we have to follow trends too, but.
So did people ever come down here and fish?
Oh yeah, lots. We have a lot of people come down and fish. They'll park in the parking lot on a Sunday afternoon and just kind of wander down the property and make their way down to the riverbank, or they'll park their car over on the old highway at the bridge, and they'll walk down the hillside, and then they'll just fish the entire bank.
What kind of fish can you find in this river?
They catch a lot of bass, bluegill. They catch muskie here, and a few years ago, strangely enough, a young man was fishing really, really deep on the top side of the dam, and he caught a huge rainbow trout that had miraculously made its way down from one of the smaller rivers. But you're not going to find trout in here. That was a highly unusual circumstance.
Now, they have fishing tournaments down here sometimes over here at the boat dock.
Mm-hmm.
And that usually goes through what, November roughly?
Yeah, I don't know. I know that around here, I'm not sure exactly where, but I know that they catch a lot of walleye. And like I said, muskie and bass and catfish. I've caught a lot of catfish right along this bank here. Who doesn't love a great view? This was the biggest inspiration behind purchasing this land, is that we knew that once we did enough clearing, we would end up being able to take advantage of looking at the river with all of its activity and lack thereof. I especially love the way the old rail bridge is kind of hidden intimately behind those trees. Once you get past the trees, of course, it opens up. It's much larger and expansive than it looks. There's a lot of activity in the spring, summer, and fall, but my favorite part, and the one thing that customers mention about their favorite part of the view, is that it is panoramic. It is accessible, but it still goes back to the past. It's quiet and quaint, very little activity compared relatively to other larger rivers, and a lot of fish, a lot of stories have come out of that river and out of this view.
And from here you can also see the bridge.
What was a beautiful, much older bridge with a large, I believe it was a trestle bridge. It had a large steel structure that covered the entire top of it. It was replaced back in 1998 or 99. They tore down the bridge completely, blocked off all flow of traffic over the river for about, I believe, a year and a half or 2 years for the sake of the construction of the new bridge.
Is your brother somehow still involved with the restaurant?
No, he's not. Like I said earlier, it started with my twin brother Paul had the idea.
Yes.
My older brother Ian lived right down the street, so he had the resources, and he had a lot of construction and remodeling experience. And then I didn't really have any experience in anything. I was kind of the unqualified third wheel. And so we all came together. Ian was the oldest. Then my brother Paul and I, twins. My brother Paul has a solid culinary background. He went to culinary school. He was a chef in Dallas, owned a few restaurants, and now he's a culinary instructor. After the first year or so of the original Foglight, my brother Paul decided it was time to go back to Texas. He was only here temporarily.
Okay.
My older brother Ian was here for the duration of the first Foglight. He and I built the new Foglight, and he was here for about a year. And the restaurant business just wasn't his bag. He was good at it. He was actually a very natural at it. He was an excellent baker. He was really good with people. But his gifts, I think, were better. Oh, I didn't decide it. He decided to leave. But I think his gifts that he brought to the Foglight were better suited for other industry. So he quit the Foglight and he moved on and left pretty much just me and the staff. And so now it's just me. My wife has helped tremendously throughout the entire process. So without her, I'd probably be shucking shrimp at Red Lobster.
Yes.
Which would be fine.
Would you say that there's still an essence of your brother still in the food, the quality, or the ingredients, maybe something that he left behind for?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. My older brother Ian, for a long time, he did all the baking. He made cheesecakes and pies, and and he had never baked. I mean, that's just the kind of guy he is.
Yes.
So the memories of his ability and his passion for making these beautiful desserts, and he was very creative. I'm sure he still is. So that lingers in a kitchen. A kitchen is full of memories and energy, and you try to continue those things in what you do and grow from it. And then my twin brother Paul has, like I said, he's got a really solid, expansive culinary background. So if I would come up with an idea, he had probably already done it, and had probably done it on a higher level to a stronger degree. So I grew on both Ian and Paul, and then I kind of ran with it in my own fashion. So yeah, their energy is very much still here, I hope.
Yes. Tell us more about the Christine, because I know that Eric Jackson and his wife have a menu item named after Christine. Tell me more about how that came to be.
Eric and Christine have been coming around for a long time, and being in Rock Island, not far from us, is a tremendous play hole for freestyle kayaking, and that's what has brought that's part of what brought Eric and Christine here, as well as some of their friends and people that we've become friends with as well. And Eric and Christine came in one night, and Christine said, God, I had this salad at this restaurant, and wherever they travel more than they do anything.
Yeah.
And I said, tell me about it. She said it was real simple. It was fresh greens with crumbled blue cheese, dried cranberries, candied pecans. And I said, God, that sounds good. Let's do it. So we did it for her that night. The next night she came in, and she said, hey, can I have that salad again? And I said, you can have anything you want.
Yeah.
So she ordered it so frequently, and then other guests started seeing it, and they'd say, I want to have what she's having. So the salad is called the Christine. You can have it as a little side salad, or you can have it as an entree we'll do it with a lump crab cake, or a grilled or blackened chicken breast, or some blackened beef or shrimp. It's a real hit, and Christine, she still orders it.
So what actually drew me here today was something that you had posted on Facebook, and it was almost like storytelling of what the Foglight means, and you compared it to a train, and it's almost like you have to get lost to find this place. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me more about that?
The get lost to find us thing was another pretty lucky accident. The Foglight Foodhouse is pretty much an accident. I was on the phone one night with a man, and he called and he was upset. He wasn't having it. He was done. He said, "I've been driving around for an hour and a half and I can't find you." And I said, "Sir, I'm sorry." He said, "How do I get there?" And we get that a lot. How do I get there?
Yes.
So I had to ask I don't know where you are. Can you describe where you are? And no kidding, it was, all we can see right now is a great big barn, and there's a sign on the barn that says whatever it said. And I said, "Oh, I know exactly where you are." Turn around, go about, go to the extra large oak tree, the one with something, whatever. And he said, "I've been lost for an hour and a half, and if I don't find you in the next minute, And then he goes, "Oh, wait a minute, there you are." He said, "I don't know how I found you. I've been lost for an hour and a half." And I said, "Sir, I don't know if you know this or not. You got to get lost to find us." So I kind of clung to that, and I was out on the floor. I was talking to some customers, and I told them that story because the guy was so colorful and so funny, and I really embellished it. I made it a much bigger production than it really was because I was trying to get some laugh. I figure if I'm going to be on the floor, I'm going to get a laugh. Well, this very nicely dressed man in an extremely expensive suit, good-looking guy, clean cut, obviously a professional. As I was walking away from the table telling the story, he stopped me and he said, "Hey, I need you to come here for a minute." So I said, yeah. So I went over and he said that you've got to get lost to find this thing. Where did you come up with that? And I told him, and he said, "I am a marketing director or something along those lines in Nashville for so-and-so, whatever firm it was or whatever." And he said, "That is $1 million phrase and you don't even know it." And I said, "Well, I do now." So now it's on t-shirts and stickers and koozies and all this kind of stuff.
Wonderful.
So the Get Lost to Find This thing, it ties into my story of the train because we're close to the railroad tracks, and the train still runs, period, or it did up until recently. And it's nostalgic. It's sweet and romantic. And the drive here at 6 o'clock on a Friday evening, the only reason people are driving to Walling, for the most part, is to come to the Foglight. Now there are Airbnbs, things like that. They're coming for those too. I'm not going to diminish that, but we draw guests from all over, and they get lost to find us. I love a train, so I guess my equivalence is you're on the train, just like the story said. You're on the train, memories past. The story translates into you're sitting in one of the big picture windows, dining, the train ride stops, the scenery doesn't change a bit. The river becomes the countryside that was blasting past you on your journey to get to your final destination, which is dining at the Foglight.
That's absolutely poetic in its own right. I love it. It's beautiful. And you tell me that you're not a writer, but yet you have this creative environment, and I think it just kind of takes over. I think it's beautiful.
Thank you.
The way that you present yourself and this restaurant, and anyone that is looking to get lost, come out here to the Foglight. Where can they find you?
Foglight is at 275 Powerhouse Road. We're in Walling, Tennessee. It's 38587 for those using GPS. Our website is, of course, www.foglightfoodhouse, all lower caps.com. We're on Facebook. I've got 2 pages. We're closed on Sunday and Monday, unless you want to have a large party. Like we like to do the wedding parties and birthday parties, and we do those on days that we're closed. But Tuesday through Friday, 5 to 8. Saturday, 4 to 8. No reservations unless you've got a large group at Christmas. Downstream from us is the dam. Upstream from us, again, is the island from which Rock Island was named. And where we sit is the site of where a great lot of the battle at Rock Island was fought.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know a lot about the history here? I
don't. I know just enough to make people think I know about the history. I know enough to know that if you cut a big tree down out here and take it to a local sawyer, they will not cut it into boards because so many of them are still full of lead slugs or whatever they call them. They'll destroy a saw blade, so they won't cut them. Apparently there's a lot of those out here.
Has anybody found any like relics from that battle out here, do you think?
I'm sure, I've heard that they have. I've never seen any of them. The most unusual thing that I found out here is, gosh, it's been about 3 years ago. I was digging in the woods. You know, we're surrounded by woods. And I dug, I don't know what I was digging for, probably bottles or something. And I found a seashell, a big, it wasn't a conch. It was a shell about this big.
Oh,
and
this big, huh?
Yeah, I'm sorry, about that big. And it's bright white, it's beautiful, and it's not fake, it's a real shell. Because I had to clean it and I bleached it. But I found it buried in the hillside over here.
Wow.
So a friend of mine told me that back in the days of the cowboys and Indians, if that were really a thing here, he said that back in the day, travelers would come through, and one of the items that they would often carry, because they were going from somewhere up north to somewhere down south, and they made their way to the coast, is they would pick up these beautiful shells, and they would use them to barter. That was his theory.
Oh, wow.
So he thinks that somebody traded for a shell, and finally they were done with it, and they, you know, what am I going to do with it? What am I going to do with a seashell? And discarded it. So I don't know.
So what's your favorite part about being here in Walling, Tennessee?
It's like going back. It's like going back in time 75 years. I am very nostalgic. And I was probably born in the wrong, I should have been born probably 75 years ago. And I wasn't. If anybody's wondering how old I am, I wasn't born 75 years ago. When we first came up with the idea of building a new fog light, I designed the entire building. I drew all the elevations, all the floor plans. I designed the entire building. Then we got it framed up, and we realized that we've got a brand new building. It's shiny, it's crisp, it's almost perfect because it's never had anybody in it messing it up. And we discovered early on that we needed it to look much like the old fog light. And the old fog light wasn't old. I mean, it had rotten floors in it until we replaced them, of course. But so we had to figure out a way to make the building look old so that we could capture the spirit of Walling and Rock Island. It just feels like you've stepped back in time. And that's how we want people to feel when they come out here. I don't want you to get in a hurry when you sit down. I don't want you to get in a hurry to order or to eat or to leave. Being in a hurry is our job. We're gonna take care of you the best we can, expeditiously, without you feeling like you're in a fast food place and you gotta bounce. It's just not like that. My favorite part is this area is steeped in history. It's quiet and quaint and beautiful and romantic, and we intend on keeping it that way.
Have y'all ever had any wedding proposals here?
Oh yeah, we have a lot of wedding proposals. We've done weddings out here.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, I've officiated a few weddings out here. We've done them out on the deck. We've done them right here in the main dining room. We've done them on our new-ish patio out front. Yeah, we're a special occasion restaurant that you can go to as often as you like. We are a finer dining restaurant, but we're not fine because that doesn't fit our mold. I often tell people, say, if you could describe the overall feel of the Foglight Foodhouse, quickly, succinctly, how would you do it? And I tell them, Foglight is like Jimmy Buffett in a tuxedo. Because everybody fits in. We have people, they pull up in their big, shiny, brand new BMW, and they park right next to the 35-year-old pickup truck that's got mud on it, and they sit right next to the farmer who was driving that truck, and nobody cares. Everybody fits in. There's something on the menu for everybody. There's a price range for everybody. Everybody's welcome, and like I said, don't get in a hurry. That's our job.